Today we discuss the daily checklist of a six-figure coach, and we'll dive into some of the secrets of the seven-figure coach. Today I'm joined by Itaza, who runs our Fit Pro Launch Systems program. He works with coaches who are looking to get to their first 5K a month. He also has his own very successful fitness business. Now this can be a very short, insightful and impactful strategic episode where you can take information away. The first thing we'll talk about is the 3 to 5 non-negotiable actions every day coaches need to make. Do you want to take the first one?
So I think the biggest thing I would probably wanted to dive into here is like almost kind of shiny objects and tasks that are actually productive. So when we look at like kind of 0 to 6 figures, we're looking at booking calls and closing calls. And there's obviously the whole formula we want to do, content that drives engagement, gets conversations, conversation gets calls, calls gets clients. But the thing I see a lot of people do, they kind of get distracted and they look into what other people are doing, lead magnets, funnels, branding even, and they get distracted by the bells and the whistles, and it kind of pulls them away from booking calls, closing calls, because they end up spending 80% of the time building the future business rather than focusing now. And I think you said this quite well. It's like 80% of your time should be focusing on booking calls, closing calls, and building business now. 20% of the time should be focused on building business later. So that's where the shiny objects go in place, like branding and things like that.
The biggest mistake fitness coaches are making right now is they're comparing themselves to Steve down the fucking street because he's got viral reels. But what you do not understand about Steve down the street is he's actually broke as a fucking joke and he doesn't actually make any money. So he gets a lot of views, he gets a lot of engagement, he gets a lot of reach, but it doesn't convert into clients. And I'd say if I was to look at the 3 to 5 non-negotiables that people need to do every day, you touched on there, obviously it's like content, conversations, follow-ups, and then kind of client check-ins to get results. But if I was to really like break that down, I'd think about like the input-output equation. So if your job is to try and book sales calls, how are you going to generate leads? Cool, going to be creating content. Mm-hmm. If your goal is then to be, okay, how are we going to convert those leads and the traffic into your Instagram account into a potential sales call, have a conversation. So you're going to have to do some DM messaging. Yeah. And at the beginning, people are not going to come to you, you're going to have to kind of go to them. And I think this is where people almost have too much of an arrogance and ego to do the dirty work of like messaging people, actually trying to actively sell them. That's kind of like the job, right?
It's ugly, it works, right? And that's the biggest thing is like, if you're working from a B2C standpoint, you're in a place of your job is to build relationships with prospects and future clients. And I always like the terms like banking leads, so they may not buy now, but they're going to buy later. And like touching on a little bit, a few steps before, right? Content, the virality. Pretty much in my business, I do everything to not go viral. Not in the sense that we don't want to get views and engagement, but we almost don't want to have it where we get a lot of bad leads and our page gets flooded with the wrong people. Because there's a lot of people out there that are known but not wealthy, but there's a lot of people that are wealthy but not known. And we want to be kind of choosing the boat we're going to go in. That's not going to say like the more followers you get is going to correlate to more success, but it's more total addressable market. So if you're going viral for views and getting people under 16 and people like 20 years old that are on your prospects, you're kind of going viral just to get ego strokes in a sense, whereby if you really want to get the right people, it's total addressable market, the ones you can have conversations with, create a client now, create a client later.
And that's where I think people need to understand is like, do you want to be famous or do you want to be rich kind of analogy?
100%.
And the most important thing I'd say with this is like, there's 3 things that will determine how successful someone can be, and I can look at this for straight away, and you know what I'm going to say. So one is I look at your bank account, where you're spending your money. 2 is I look on your social media, like what you're actually watching and absorbing every day. I'll go on your YouTube, like what is actually going on there. Yeah. Thirdly is I look at your calendar, like where are you spending your time? Are you spending 5 hours a day training and 2 hours a day driving to fucking Oxygen Gym in Dubai because you think it's the best gym in the world and it will make you more gains? The reality is it fucking won't, dude. So you have to understand the most valuable thing you have in life is time, not money, and you have to invest your time wisely and your attention and focus with that. So when I was an estate agent, I quickly understood the input and output equation of, okay, cool, if I want to make as much money as possible and sell as many houses as possible, I need to get as many viewings as possible. So I need to control the lead flow. So what I would say to coaches who are listening to this is the most important thing you need to do is understand you need to obsess over how many sales calls you book every day. Because that's like the leading indicator in your business. The indicator before that is going to be how many messages outbound are you sending, how many conversations are you getting into, and then how many video views, like how much top of funnel reach are you getting as you get more advanced. And even like, I think on the meeting we had yesterday as a company yesterday, I think we had like 1.3 million unique reach who saw me in the last week. Yeah. So like that's a lot of top of funnel traffic. And as you start to play a bigger game, you want to try and focus on slightly different metrics.
I think also like kind of touching what you said there is like, you want to be in a spot where you prioritize booking calls above anything else. Like if you're not selling, you've not got a business. If you're not booking calls, you're doing the wrong things. And there's a lot of people out there that work in quote unquote all the time, but it's like you've got 5 clients, you're not booking calls. What are you actually doing? And that's what I see a lot. It's like how most people are working, but they're kind of not working, they're always thinking about work. So almost I always find like if you can get into a spot where you kind of really optimize it for booking calls and closing calls, that's what your day should look like. And everything else, spend like a day of the week and building new things out. But majority, like 6 days a week, should be closing and booking at the end of it.
And with this, I would say, actually comes down to calendar blocking. So this is one of the things like I've made a lot of trainings on, like what does the perfect day as a fitness trainer look like? So for example, if you're a coach and you're doing under say 10 to 20K a month, what I would focus on doing, and you're doing your own check-in still, I'd have like one day I would just try and like sacrifice for check-ins. The rest of the time I'd focus on actually growing the business, and it would be, I'd wake up in the morning, I'd focus on like the deep work of money later tasks. So like things you're doing and assets you're building that are going to pay you 8 weeks, 12 weeks down the line. And then I would probably personally get up, and then I would go and work out. I would then come back, and I would then try and have my sales calls or any calls I have to have later in the day. The problem that most people have as they're like more younger in business, they're easily distracted. So the first thing they do when they wake up is they get up, they get their iPhone out, they get distracted, they're scrolling through TikTok, Instagram, and then they're off on some fucking paradigm or some bullshit that they get an idea because they see someone else is doing it. It's like, dude, you need to stick to your own fucking race and actually run that, and also have the right race to run, if that makes sense.
Quick interjection into the podcast. If you're an online coach who's looking to scale the business, get their first 5K month, 10K month, or even get to 50 to 100K a month, we have helped hundreds of trainers do this at this point, and I've personally generated over $14 million online in the fitness industry. We have a proven methodology that works, provided you're willing to do the work. Now, if you want to book in a free business audit, we'll break down exactly where you are now, where you want to go, and what's currently holding you back. Hit the link below this video and below the podcast to find exactly how we can help you. Pick a time, and we will walk you through the process of where your business is at and what exponential growth looks like. Now, back to the podcast.
Yeah, it's kind of like looking at other people, what they do in terms of VSLs, retarget ads, all these little bells and whistles. And it's like, some people shouldn't be doing ads, some people should be doing ads. And it's like, what problem is this solving is the biggest thing you can actually solve. It's like, if you can wake up and you do a task, but it's solving a problem, that's what you're really looking at. So from a place of like, something I'd probably love to dive into is like what the perfect day should look like in broader sense. What do you think that would be for most people?
For most people, they should get up, hydrate, take their supplements. I would then suggest spending 5 minutes. I personally use AI to journal a lot. Nice. And I would suggest having like 5 questions you try and answer every day, and then go straight into whatever work you need to do. So this actually comes down to being successful today, is actually being planned the day before. So that's kind of how I would suggest someone starts the day, not some massively elaborate morning routine. And then it's that like KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. So like in particular at the beginning, you need to give yourself as little wiggle room to try and improve, but to go off course. And something with this to understand that's important is also your own personality. So I know from like doing my own, everyone should do an ocean personality test, the big 5, that like regardless of whether I do the fucking work as soon as I get up or I do an hour late, I'm gonna fucking do it anyway, because that's not an issue I have. But if you're the type of person who procrastinates on doing the thing, just get up and do the thing, because you're eliminating one of the character weaknesses you maybe have.
Yeah, it's funny you said that, because I'm the type of person I find like if I'm in the morning 4 hours, get some call sports, focus on the one thing you need to do, get that done and train in a sense. So my like, day-to-day is more like wake up, check the ads, check the lead flow, go through last night's leads and make sure everyone here is like, we're on top of these people, we're tracking them. Then we go and pretty much go into a task where it's like an hour building something. If we need to, sometimes it's like, let's just book calls and close them. Call reminders, we've got calls that day, you message it and you call and you do what you need to do. But the main thing here is kind of looking at for me personally, it's like the first 4 hours of the day are what's going to make money in the business now or later. But let's focus on like, right, how's the lead flow? How's the ads performing? How are the calls booked? Is there any people that we are pretty much close to booking a call that we can re-message and retarget and essentially get them re-engaged? Then it's like you kind of done the big thing there. Because if you can get to a place now where you book in, I'd say a call a day, you've got a fairly decent business, and then from there it's ads that will turn the fire onto that. But overall, if you can get to a spot where in the morning you review lead flow or content or things that's going to fix those two, the rest is going to be much easier for you. Because then you can kind of get some time to do new shiny things, whereby if you wake up in the morning, you're pretty much doing things that, let's say you're starting off a business, you've got less than 1,000 followers, and you're creating lead magnets funnels, you don't need to do that. So
you don't have the traffic for the lead magnets,
right?
yeah.
And it's kind of like the problem you're fixing is content to get traffic at the end of the day. So it's kind of like, what problem is this solving in the morning? Get it done first, and then the rest of the day, even if you are someone that procrastinates, that's fine. You've done what needs to be done, and you've booked the calls, you've re-messaged, you retarget the people that are close to booking.
The number one reason people's businesses do not scale is they solve the right problem in the wrong order. So what you just said there is like, oh, they're making lead magnet funnels and doing this stuff, but they don't have any fucking views or any traffic.
100%.
So like, you have to have a logical, sequential thinking process with your business, and this is one of the key things we help people with to make sure that their hard work and effort is actually directed in the right direction, and you're rowing the boat in the right way. Whereas I think a lot of people, they end up doing too many things that they shouldn't be doing that may be too advanced, or it's not a problem that yet needs to be solved. And that's, I think, where people really need to reframe it. And I think the last thing to add into this, which is super important, is the most successful people in the world are very analytical. I spend a lot of time, not that I'm one of the most, but like I'm very analytical and I review everything. I ask you questions as soon as you got here, right?
Yeah.
So I ask people questions because I want their feedback and I look for information. So the number one thing people actually need to do is they need to analyze themselves, and at the end of every day, what went well today, what could we improve today, what can you change tomorrow?
And go fix it.
And if you just focus on those three things and you keep improving that iteration, you will be a phenomenal successful coach as long as you focus on working on the right things.
Yeah, 1000%. Just to kind of dive into a little bit before we wrap this episode up, it's like, what does your week look like in terms of building tasks and doing tasks? Because I'll dive into mine, but I'd be curious to hear.
So for the level that I'm trying to get to, I'm trying to think more strategic rather than, so I'm trying to think about power over force. My natural personality is blunt force, so like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do everything. Like, look how great I am, I'll fucking sell and close, I'll do everything. Whereas reality is that's not scale, and you can't scale doing that. Like, you actually need systems and teams and stuff to leverage. So what I focus on very much now is Monday is very heavy in terms of, I did 2.5 hours going through our Facebook ads yesterday. So I generally tend to, I keep an eye on them every 2-3 days. And then I'll do a big week review because I've got enough data to see anything I've changed. I will then go through all of the sales calls. I'll do some reviews with that using AI. I then will do a sales training with 2 of our closers. I then go into a load of team meetings. I tend to do a lot of one-to-ones and spend a lot of time training our team on Monday and having meetings. So that's kind of my core focus then to set the pace for the week. Tuesday, I then focus on a lot of like building shit in the kind of morning tasks or filming, and then the fulfillment in terms of helping other people with their own businesses. Wednesdays tends to be more like content orientated. Thursday I tend to like do more building and coming up with ideas and things we need to implement. And Friday will just be like fully content filming all day. And the reason I film all day Friday is, regardless I work for myself or fucking not, that I'm generally in a better mood on Friday, so I'm kind of more chilled, so I will film on those days. So one of the things as people find as the business scales, at the beginning you're wearing all the hats. And it's difficult to switch from you just fired someone to doing sales calls, being like really cheery on the podcast. So like, ideally you want to try and keep one hat on for one day and be that version of you. So that's kind of how I think. And then at the weekend I will still work. I'll work at least 2-3 hours a day each day. And probably my favorite thing is just having like quiet space to kind of like look what's happening and think and then plan for the next week coming. And that's how you don't go into Monday a fucking step behind, you go a step ahead because you're actually ready to go.
1000%. It's kind of like, it's very funny you said that about like you film one day of the week, because the thing what people do is they film every single day, which is the worst way to do it because you can almost kind of batch it at the end of the day. So what I recommend for most people do is have like one designated film in the morning. Do in the morning so you highest frequency, get the steps in, get a haircut. Like if I didn't have filming days every week, I wouldn't get haircuts often. So that literally keeps me accountable towards it. But almost like every Friday morning or every whatever morning, do like 3 hours, get that done in the way. You may film like 8 to 10 reels. But let's say you do week 1, week 2, week 3 of each month, and week 4 take it off. You've got 30 reels there. Give yourself time to think some new ideas, and that's kind of done. So like you may do Thursday scripting, Friday filming, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday sell, fulfill in between. And that's perfect because that way you can actually kind of use the weekends where you've got a bit more time and people aren't contacting you as much to build something new. So Saturday morning, if you're going to work, focus on a lead magnet, focus on a webinar, focus on building your community, building your program up. But try not to do that during the week, sell during the week, use your weekends to catch up on bigger tasks and maybe later on. Because I think people don't love working weekends, but I personally think if you can do that a little bit every single day, and bearing in mind like you're designing a life you love, it's probably the best way to do. So like, you can almost kind of look at if you want to work on the weekends, but use that to build new things in place. So
I want to finish this with a quote that I wrote out the other day. I'm just going to have to pull it up because it's fucking really good. If it's played to you and worked to everyone else, you will win 100% of the time.
100%.
So if you think about that you actually enjoy what you do and you do it for the fun of it, of like, how dope can we make this podcast set up by having a black garage with a Ferrari and all that, you will win. Because you're not doing it for the outcome of the money, you're doing it for the outcome of the art, of the enjoyment of the game. And that's more the way I want trying people to think about, because that's when you become unbeatable compared to everyone else.
Yeah, do you ever like, I think the biggest thing there is like taking pride as well of what you do. Like if you're putting out content, don't half-arse it. Be like, right, I'm going to make this better next week, make this better next week, and you analyse it as well, like you said. So it's play the game too, just play the game.
100%. Right up there. If you guys took value from this episode, make sure you smash the like button, hit subscribe, and share this with a friend, and check the next episode coming up now.